On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there, and welcome to the Choose to Think podcast, or welcome back. This is Victoria and Rico. You can see Rico. I am so glad that you're here. Welcome to one of our Monday episodes where I've just been having all kinds of fun doing different types of things. And for today, or recently, I've been talking about various health issues. You may have caught last week's episode all about water and the importance of drinking water and my own personal story with hating water. And now I just drink, I'm up to 80 ounces a day. So I'm really excited about that. But today we're going to talk about another beverage, which is amazingly good for your health. And you've heard me talk about it before because I always have around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I have my little cup of tea at 2. And I want to tell you about green tea. Now, green tea is nothing new. It's been around for ages. I can remember years ago when green tea first came out, I thought it was kind of weird because the only tea I ever knew was black tea. And let me tell you a story about tea. I grew up spent a lot of my growing up years in Morehead, Kentucky. And if you know that area, it's country. I mean, just country people. I lived close to my grandparents for a while, and I can remember things like my grandmother canning jelly, actually making jelly, apple jelly outside. She would do it outside. That's how she would do her canning in this humongous big container, like cauldron almost, or some kind of, I think it was like a metal tub, but it could withstand the heat, the actual flame. That she made so much of it because they had apples everywhere, right? And I can remember my granddad peeling them. He could peel an apple so quickly. I think he could almost do it with one hand. I don't know how, but I'm of the tradition, and some of you will know what I'm talking about, where we can peel something and we can draw the knife to our thumb or to our finger. And like my daughters-in-law, they're like, I can't do that because it's so foreign to them. But that's a generation I was. I can remember my granddad peeling those apples and making that all kind of stuff, not just apple jelly, and it was so good. And I would take a little saucer to my granddad or my grandmother standing out there, and they would just put a big dollop onto my plate, and they knew just when it was ready. Now we have all these different instruments we use and kitchen tools that we use to help us gauge the temperature, especially when we're making jelly or candy, or we use Sure-Gel, all of that kind of stuff, but not then. And so one of my fondest memories of my grandmother is that they were just huge tea drinkers. And I hate to confess the amount of sugar that I would put in my tea. And she also had those little sugar cubes, which were like so fancy to me. And we would, put like, 20 sugar cubes in there, something ridiculous. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my former pastor's wife, Belinda Sykes. I used to meet her at Panera this was way back when I used to do sugar. I don't do sugar so much anymore, but the sugar packets when we had coffee would be in this big, huge mound. And so Belinda, if you're listening, you'll have to make a comment on this episode. Speaking of that, thank you for tuning in. And I would really appreciate the share or the like. If you're on YouTube watching this live video, not live, but this video, then please click the subscribe button and then ring that notification bell so that you'll know whenever anything drops, and just a little bit of a reminder. It helps with the algorithm. Share it or like it, make it a favorite wherever you listen to podcasts if you're just listening, but we really appreciate that if you would do that. So anyway, I have such great memories of tea, and we also had a lot of iced tea growing up. But today I want to talk about the health benefits of green tea, because I like to study things that are so good for your brain, just like water. Most of our brain is water anyway. And the green tea impact on your brain through some scientific studies that from trusted sources, right? would indicate that there are health benefits to our actual brain. The reason I like to focus on the brain so much is because, if you've been listening for a while, that I like to talk about choosing to think in all areas of our lives. Generally, we talk about emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, mindsets, and attitudes. That's a lot of what drives this, especially in our Psalms study, because we drop the Psalm studies on Thursdays. And we study the Psalms because David was so emotionally expressive in his Psalms, and it validates us, right? But in addition to that, it's not just to be healthy with our emotions, though that's so important. We also want to be, especially if you're fab and 50, 50-ish, like I am, you want to be healthy in all areas of your life. You want to be healthy with your finances and your wealth. You want to be healthy with your physical body, right? You want to be healthy with your relationships. So that's why I like to talk about these amazing foods or beverages that are so good for our brain, because our mind impacts our brain, even our attitudes toward certain foods that we ingest. If we can change our attitudes and our thoughts about them, for example, broccoli. I don't really like broccoli, but I've been eating it. And suddenly now the new narrative for me is, this kind of tastes good. I kind of like broccoli, just like I used to not like water. I had to change the narrative in my head, and I was choosing to think in reference to something that would be very healthy for me and for my body and for that area of my life, because we're coming at choosing to think holistically. So let's talk a little bit about the evidence-based benefits of drinking green tea. And then later on, if you hang on, I'm going to show you the tea that I love, that I endorse, that I drink every day at 2. And you're going to want to go out and just snag it and get some for your own. And then I have another bonus tea that I want to share to you, which will totally knock your socks off. We actually call it our dessert tea, because you need no sugar, no sweetener, nothing in this tea, because it has the fusion of spices will just light up your senses. So I can't wait to tell you that, but that'll be at the very end. First, let's look very quickly about the 10 evidence-based benefits of green tea. And I'm taking this information from healthline.com. I love those articles that they produce, in part because they are evidence-based and they're peer-reviewed, and they give all the links on the different studies that have done. And I don't want to go into all those studies. I'm going to kind of take their word for it, but I think you're going to agree with the fact that green tea has been touted as one of the most healthy beverages on the planet. In general, it should improve your brain function. We don't want to have fog. Now, some of that's from caffeine, and you can get that anywhere, really. But anyway, let's just think about it holistically. A cup of green tea has about 1/3 of the amount of caffeine. But anyway, it can improve your brain function, help with fat loss, protect against cancer, and lower the risk of heart disease. So let's go through these 10 benefits very quickly. The first one is green tea contains healthy bioactive compounds. And you're like, what is that? Have you heard of that polyphenol? It's a type of antioxidant. Well, that's what it has a whole lot of. So as I drink my green tea, and by the way, here's my green tea. It's in my Love Never Fails 1 Corinthians 13:8 little cup that someone gave me. So good. I can't wait to tell you the brand. Anyway, it's loaded with those polyphenol antioxidants and can be so beneficial to your health and to your brain. So I want to get some of those. It may improve brain function. It does contain less caffeine, as I already mentioned, than coffee, but it still has enough to produce an effect. That's why I drink it usually around 2 o'clock, because I've been up a long time. I've worked probably for 6, 7, 8 hours already, and I want just a little bit of a boost as I'm coming into the afternoon time. So there's an amino acid here called L-theanine or theanine, and that's contained in green tea also, which is said to improve brain function. Number 3, it increases fat burning. Okay, raise your hand if you want to have something that increases fat burning. Me. It may increase your metabolic rate. and increase fat burning in the short term, although some studies don't actually agree with that. I like sometimes during the summer when I'm playing pickleball, we usually start around 4:30. I'll take a big jug of, in one of my containers that I shared last week, I'll take a big jug of green tea. It's slightly sweetened with stevia, liquid stevia. I think liquid stevia is better in those beverages, but and I know that I'm getting a little bit of a boost, plus it's caffeine a teeny bit, and then it's increasing my metabolic rate. So I love it. I think it helps me with my pickleball game. And then number 4, the antioxidants that are contained may lower the risk of some cancers. Of course, we want that. Many studies, multiple studies, according to the healthline.com article, show that green tea drinkers have a lower risk of various types of cancers. And if you want to go into all of those studies, then you can just go to the article and dig a little bit deeper. I'm just taking kind of a surface area glance at the benefits of green tea so I can get around to sharing some of my favorites that I'm drinking. It may also protect your brain, all right? It may reduce the risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, anything that's neurodegenerative that's taking your brain down. Studies show that it may reduce that, and therefore it's protecting your brain, having a positive effect again on your brain. It may even reduce bad breath. Okay, I'll take that. It has catechins or catechins. I don't know how to say some of these things, but that may inhibit the growth of bacteria in the mouth. You know, your mouth has a natural biome. It's an oral biome. And if you use like the whitening stuff, kind of like I do sometimes, then that can upset that. But I like to think that the green tea is just flooding my mouth with things that are really, really healthy and good for that oral biome. Number 7, it may help reduce type 2 diabetes. And this was in some controlled studies that were held or were conducted. The study showed that it may cause mild reductions in blood sugar levels and therefore also reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes, as you know, is preventable, right? It's like what's going in our body. So in my quest to reduce sugar in my own life and so I can be healthier and not have headaches and not have brain fog, I want clarity of thought and mind. And I know you do too, if you're listening. But anyway, that's just another benefit of that. And I'm always looking for foods that reduce any kind of spikes in my insulin, any kind of, I want low sugar foods to be consumed. And so I'm all for green tea helping that. Number 8, it may also help prevent cardiovascular disease. I've struggled with cholesterol, and LDL is the bad cholesterol, HDL is the good. Well, studies show that drinking green tea may lower the bad cholesterol and then protect the LDL particles from oxidation. I've just been learning a little bit about oxidation and what that actually is and what's happening in our cells when oxidation occurs. And there are things like with oxalates and dried fruit. I've been eating so much dried fruit. They have a lot of oxalates, which may not even be good for plantar fasciitis issues, feet issues, that sort of thing. I'm like, I was like, what can I eat? But at any rate, I've been just now studying some of that, but I like the sound of this particular result also in benefit of drinking green tea, to think that it can naturally lower my bad cholesterol. And by the way, when I started eating more fiber, reduced my sugar, and I increased my exercise and water intake, my cholesterol levels overall, the composite score dropped. What was it? 40 some points. I don't even remember, but you can read about that on my blog at victoriadwalker.com. Just search cholesterol and that will come up. And that's another part of my journey. I'll be talking about those on some of the Mondays as well. Even drinking green tea may help you lose weight. Again, that only makes sense because there's a teeny bit of caffeine, plus it may increase the metabolic rate. So that just really makes sense. And the any kind of weight that we have around our abdomen and our organs, that's really apparently bad. So we want to get rid of any of that abdominal fat. And then number 10, it may help you live longer. I want to sign up for that. And that's just some studies showing that, where people who consume green tea actually end up with longer lifespan. So I think you can see that drinking green tea has so many positive benefits. And on that note, I have to take another drink. Do you like this diffuser? Can you see it? Try to get it close to the camera here. It's filled with organic green tea. Now I want to tell you exactly where I get it. And this is the product that I'm endorsing. It is a tea company called Harney Sons. They run specials constantly. You can get it on Amazon. Matter of fact, I'll put the link on Amazon in the show notes. You can see it's Harney, Harney and Sons. Now, if you go directly to their website, you can get like codes. You can get additional codes to get maybe another $2 or $3 off or whatever. But inside here is loose leaf tea, which is what I want to buy, and it's organic green. Now this one, I'm gonna have to put my Dollar Tree glasses on. You see my Dollar Tree glasses? Do you like them? These have like blue. I have to be careful for my ring light because I know it looks like I have these things if I'm not careful. So I haven't figured out how to do all this, but this has citrus and ginkgo in it, and I get it by the pound. I cannot remember what I paid for this. In the 20s maybe, but look how many. I just used the littlest teeniest bit like you would in a regular tea bag, and like you would get, it's just a teeny amount, right? And I just ordered 3 of these. These are stainless steel diffusers for the teacup. I have a big, I've got so much I want to show you. I've got a big one that I've been using forever. I use this when I make apple cider, and I put nutmeg and cloves and big cinnamon sticks that I break up and orange peels and all of that when I make my apple cider. So you can see the comparison of the 2 of these, right? You can see how one's really big and one's really teeny, but the mesh is very, very fine, which is what you want. You want really fine mesh on there. And I've had this so long, I don't remember how much I paid for that, because when I make apple cider for all my kids and my family, it's a lot, right? Because I have a big family. But these little ones I just bought recently, and I got 3 of these for $5. I mean, come on, they're stainless steel. I'm like, is it really true these are stainless steel? I have no idea, but so far so good. They're working just fine. Again, I'll put the links below in the show notes. Now, I want to tell you how I came to love Harney and Sons tea, and it's because of this tea bag right here. This is the bonus tea I was telling you about. This tea, I have never in my life had better tea, ever. Except if we want to go back to all the sugar I put in my grandmother's tea. And it was probably just Lipton tea or Nestle, whatever the tea was back then. There weren't as many brands and everything. And certainly nothing organic. But if you could smell this, and this is in a little sachet, it is their cinnamon spice. Here it is. Now I get decaf hot cinnamon spice. Can you see that? Hot cinnamon spice. This came with 50 sachets. You'll have to check the prices. I just don't remember. They're probably $20 for that bag of 50 or something like that. My daughter-in-law, one of my daughters-in-law, her sister, I think, told her about this tea. She gave me a cup. I was instantly hooked. I've given it to everyone I know because it is the most delicious, cinnamony, spicy tea you could ever hope to. My parents love it. They're like, we love this tea. They're big tea drinkers also. They love this tea. They're like, where'd you get this tea? Now, this is a concern I had about tea, and a concern that you should have about your tea and your tea bags, because some of those white tea bags, they actually bleach those, right? Do you want to have that bleach? And use like a coffee filter also. Do you get the ones that aren't bleached, because you don't want that processing on there. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, how can I endorse this tea that I love if they bleach their tea bags? That was one concern. The other concern I have is what the little mesh bag is made of. And because sometimes you douse a tea bag, you put boiling water over a tea bag that's got any plastic in it, and it is going to infiltrate your beverage with those microplastics. Have you heard of that? Yeah, it's enough to scare you to death. So number one, I want organic, and then I want to be mindful of, what it is I'm actually using. So I wrote Harney and Sons, and it's Harney and Sons Fine Teas. And I got a response really quickly. My question, shucks, I didn't actually do my questions, but I was asking them just that. Can you tell me about bleaching? Can you tell me about plastics? Because I'm worried about this, and I want to use your tea. Now, of course, that's why I get the loose leaf, right? Because I don't have to worry about the plastic then or the bleaching. I'm safe with loose leaf, and that's why I get it. But sometimes it's convenient to have the little sachets like this. So I wanted to know what they said. I was so delighted by their response, and I want to read it to you exactly. This was, although they call me Victor, but that's okay. That's hi, Victor. Maybe I signed that way, who knows? But October 7th is when this was dated of this year. And they say this: thank you for shopping with Harney and Sons. We are excited to announce that on July 22, 2021, we started producing sachet fabric from compostable sugar cane. Hello, that's nice. She says, and her name, let's see, what is her name? What was her name? Maria Pinto. She tells me, she says, we are building up our inventory and we'll be using it in production alongside our BPA-free food grade nylon material now. And over the next few months, we will convert all sachets to the sugarcane. Amen, right? So they're going to get rid of their stock, no doubt, of the BPA free, that's that plastic stuff, like when you microwave, you don't want any of that. You don't want your water bottles to have that. And so they've already gone that route, but now they're going to this this degradable or compostable sugarcane thing. I wonder how much sugar it adds, if any. Maybe it's negligible, or doesn't matter. She says, please note that it is industrial compostable, and any nanoparticles created during steeping are digested by the body. The sugar cane, oh, I forgot, she already said this, she answered it. The sugar cane does not produce any increase in the glycemic content of our teas. Woohoo, yay. So there's the answer to that. I just forgot it. Okay, she also says this: we also have some great options for enjoying tea without the sachet. We offer almost all of our teas as loose tea, that's what I was saying, and encourage people to use durable filters and loose tea as much as possible to minimize packaging waste. So it's a win-win for the environment. The 4Life stainless steel strainer, and she gives me a link there, that's something they sell there to my, it's on their website, is easy to use and easy to clean. And she says, I have one that I use every day. Well, this is what I got. I got this one, right? Which is the stainless steel, and it's very, very fine. Now, I will say that despite the fact that it's so fine, sometimes I will get some of the particles, because I have in the actual green tea that I've ordered, I have some, it's got other spices added to it. So sometimes those will filter through. I don't really care personally. But if you're somebody who likes orange juice without the pulp and that sort of thing, then maybe hers would be different. I don't know, but it all settles to me, and I just kind of drink it slowly. And it's a very smooth, there's nothing in my mouth right now. There's nothing there. So, but sometimes some of that actually filters through, but it does not bother me. She goes on to say, our paper tea bags. Okay, now we're going to talk paper because we don't want any bleach. Are compostable, again, she says, and they're oxygen bleached with a method that does not produce dioxins. You can tell she knows a lot more about this than I do. Okay, oxygen bleach, I'm all for that, I suppose. But she says there's no epichlorohydrin, PET or PLA, and let's just assume that those are horrible and we don't want them. And if we go grab some tea off the shelf and we think I'm going to have healthy green tea and I'm going to get what's right here, before you buy it, beware. You may be getting some of these things. And they're the researchers. Of course, they want to sell their tea too, but at least they're, what effort, right? They're really trying hard to do good things here and to make sure that we can stay healthy. So she says it has none of that stuff in their paper tea bags. We offer a variety of certified organic teas in them. The tea bags are fastened with a knot in the string. It's another thing. Did you think about how that is fastened? She says there's no glue, because the glue particles would dissolve once the hot water hits them, right? So I don't want it glue. And there's no staple on the tea bag. And those are a great choice if you have any concerns about plastic. So I was thrilled with her response, absolutely thrilled. And I feel much more comfortable then endorsing a product. So I want to tell you that these are the products I use. I will put all of these links in the show notes. And I would just say to you, happy tea drinking. And as far as any other news, I'll try to keep these episodes kind of short, but I want to mention the devotional that I've written. And I just have pinned 365 daily devotionals, which will change your life. And I am unabashedly endorsing this book because I teach you a 7-step process. Well, who wants a process? Nobody, right? We want the results. The results, this is a marketing thing. They said, sell people what they want and give them what they need. So what you probably want, like I want, is health. You want emotional, physical, spiritual, relational, financial health, right? And so this book deals with all of that from the aspect of choosing to think. And so woven into the devotional, and they're just 5-minute devotionals every day. I start with a scripture, and then everything is I choose. And because we have a choice in that. Yes, God does the healing work in our heart, but we also partner with him and we can choose what to think about. The Bible even tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind and to take every thought captive. And that sounds like it would wear you out. And some people are like, no, thanks. I don't want to think that much. Thinking is not for me. No, thank you. It sounds like too much work. And it is, but the benefit will blow your mind away. And if you're feeling ever emotionally driven, up and down, moody, can't kind of shake the funk you're in, depressed, ridden with anxiety or fear, the method that I teach, which is woven in, it will radically change your life. And suddenly you'll be like, wow, this process works. This gives me something tangible to actually do to help me take my thoughts captive so it doesn't have to be overwhelming. What is the result that you want? It is a joy-filled life. It is happiness and a contentment that isn't based on externals. Like, okay, so I get a flat tire. Who wants a flat tire? Nobody, right? But the way I respond now is like, okay, it doesn't derail me. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't knock the life out of me like it might have and send me down this rabbit hole of poor me. And why is this always happening to me? And I can't believe this happened on this day. And oh my goodness, it's raining. No, thank you, Lord, that I have a car. Thank you, Lord, that I have tires, that I can get around, that I'm in the States, that I'm not trapped somewhere. Thank you. Gratitude is so important, but that's another thing. But anyway, results, joy, happiness, contentment, peace, and purpose. They say the opposite of depression is not happiness, but rather purpose. And so as Christians, God designed each of us with a purpose. And you're going to see that woven in, that theme woven into this book as well. It's 365 daily devotionals, starting with an I choose statement, going into a scripture verse. Then from there, we go into a couple of paragraphs, how I've used that verse in my life. We kind of bring the verse to life in a new way, a new angle. It might be kind of nuanced. And then from there, we end with some thought questions. If you're a journaler, if you like to journal, diary, reflect, oh boy, you're going to like the questions. You could even do those with a small group or just one person. You could go through this devotional together. And then we sum it up. I even give you a prayer that you could pray over your life. Of course, you could change it and personalize it a little bit more. But this devotional exposes what 21st century Christianity is really all about and how one woman does it. Is it perfect? No. Is it messy? Yes. Because that's what Christianity is, because I'm not perfect, but I serve a God who is. I don't always do things right, but he does. I don't always know what to do, but he does. And so some of it is just seeking him first. And anyway, I'm now it's coming out at the end of November of 2021. And I just want to keep talking about it. You're going to see more and more about it. I just ask a lot of you to vote on the actual cover, which I've heard changed again. I had something like 70 some votes on it. And now I've taken that information, but then tweaked the title a little bit. And I think you're going to love it. It's called Choose to Think How to Think. No, choose to think and grow wise. How do you like that? Anyway, hopefully that's the one that's going to stick. But I would appreciate your support. And if you want to be a part of the Choose to Think podcast community on Facebook, just go to my Facebook. You can search for that group, or you can find it on my website, victoriadwalker.com. So God bless you. Happy green tea drinking. And let me know what you think in the comments on YouTube or on the actual podcast. Let's talk about this. Tell me what your favorite green tea is. Tell me, once you try this cinnamon, just how much you love it. It's a great gift also. Some of this, giving these product endorsements because Christmas is coming, the holidays are coming, and we're going to be sharing gifts, and it's relatively inexpensive, but man, if you give that gift to anyone, they're going to love it. All the people to whom I've ever given it, love it. So God bless you this week. And I'll be sure to tune in on Thursday, where you're going to get to meet my virtual assistant, Deborah, and just face to face. And we talk a little bit about how important God is. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.
And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. Thank you so much for tuning in. And say, if you like what you hear, please consider sharing this link to the show with a friend or a family member who you think might be encouraged by the inspiring and hope-filled messages that I try to put out every single week. So thank you so much for your support. And until next time, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.